Amazing Ampharos here, and today I'm going to be playing Child of Light, which is a downloadable RPG for the Wii U. It's also available on some other consoles, but they tempt you with things like DLC to make the game easier, so I'm going to be sticking with Wii U here. Now, this is actually, I think, a pretty good game. It's a little short, but it hits up all the high points for a good JRPG. Strong story, good art, fantastic combat engine. And in this first segment, we're going to be focusing on mostly the story and getting familiar with the basics. Like, this opening cutscene really speaks for itself, I think.
Tuck yourself in bed, and let me tell a story of Lemuria, a long-lost kingdom, and a girl born for glory. In Austria was a crown land ruled by a duke. Aurora was his daughter, child of a duchess mysterious, beloved by her father. He raised the girl alone, and they rarely apart, till the Duke felt lonely and misplaced his heart. It was the Great Friday before Easter 1895. Players performed for the Duke, his new bride at his side. That night, Aurora went to sleep. The fire burned down low. She caught a chill that spread. Her skin was cold as snow. At dawn they found her, vacant, Aurora's light gone out. Her father wept and pleaded, but there could be no doubt. For all intents and purposes, Aurora was dead. And yet, once upon a time, she awoke in a strange land instead.
So we're going to be following the story of Aurora as she figures out what exactly to do when she wakes up very, very far from home. And as you probably picked up, this game loves to rhyme, which, personally, I find it really charming. Because it just gives the dialogue a little extra flair, and it's just continually amusing. Sadly, you don't run into any objects like oranges that don't have easy rhymes. The writers were sure to avoid that. But, yeah, that's how that goes. And I'm going to, gameplay-wise, really just be rushing through things here early on. Because while I intend to get everything in these videos, you can't get very much when you're Aurora by yourself, or when you're Aurora at the very start of the game. Your abilities get a lot better by the time you're done with this early stuff, but for now we can pretty much just run and jump. And we can't jump very high at that, so I'm just going to be hopping along. I'm pretty sure it's faster than walking. Even if it's not, it's a much more entertaining way to navigate. Though I do need to pop in the options menu and set the battle speed up to 5 and turn off the tutorials. The tutorials don't really make any difference. It's just less junk on the screen for me to look at. But the battle speed to 5 makes the battles a lot more engaging. We still have a bit more exposition before we get to said battles, but when we do, battle speed at anything other than 5 would be a little bit painful. Just so much slower. Here we're getting introduced to our helper firefly, Ignicolis. Now, if you're like me, you see a little glowing helper thing, and you immediately have a bad feeling, because things like Navi have pretty much traumatized us all, but Ignicolis is actually pretty awesome. Not only does he have absolutely no useful advice at any point in the game, but he does a lot of handy gameplay stuff for us. In a lot of ways, he's more important to our victory than any of our normal characters. And you'll see that as we go forward. Because he has that meter there that basically dictates how long he can glow. It refills slowly over time, but it's really important whenever it's up. And there's the first treasure chest we can reach. A healing tonic is not a great item, but it's better than nothing, and the game tracks treasure chests, so in the long run you want to find all of them. And we're getting introduced to wishes, which you can use to both refill Ignicolas' meter and restore a little HP and MP for your party when you get all of them in order. Since we haven't really had to do anything yet, they're not terribly useful, but they're handy down the road. And here's the first little puzzle. You can inspect it to get an explanation, but I'd prefer to just solve it. You just have to line Ignicolas up and aim at the 3 little lights, and it opens the door. Where we find a sword and a stone in the forest. Which, if Aurora doesn't know she's in a JRPG, she would probably find surprising. So we have to pull it, and now we can fight. That's a very large sword for Aurora, but she's actually a little powerhouse. So we're going to take this tutorial enemy down very quickly. Now, this combat engine is like Grandia, where you can interrupt enemies by hitting them when they're in the cast portion of the meter. And the same applies to you too. Like, if I tried to attack now, the enemy would interrupt me, so I'm just going to defend, which reduces the damage I take by 40% and makes my next turn come up really quickly. And just like I can slow the enemy by holding them with Ignicolas, I can also point Ignicolas at my allies to heal them. And I can grab the wishes on the side of the arena to fill up his meter again. They're a limited resource, but they're pretty handy. By using them well, I was able to end that fight with full resources. And while there, I just used it for resource optimization. As we go forward, using Ignicolas well is going to be critical to these fights being possible. You can also stun enemies out of battle, which I'm going to use to avoid almost all the random encounters in this game. Early on, I am going to have to fight a couple, because the first boss is not realistically beatable at levels less than 3. It might be possible at 2 if you were really, really lucky. I'm pretty much entirely certain it's completely impossible at level 1. But I'm going to skip all these low experience enemies that would be easy to beat, and I'm just going to charge forward to Chapter 2, where I'm going to be able to fight more difficult enemies that give more experience. And we're being told to go to the right, where we're going to run into the last enemy I'm going to come across. It's realistically beatable for me, this ghost. But before we fight Ghosty here, we're going to head on up, as this treasure chest here is really important to our victory. That's an Ocoli, which is basically this game's equivalent of the equipment system. You can craft them, make them better, etc. With just one roughed ruby, there's not a whole lot of clever things we can do. But 4 extra HP is actually really powerful. And with that and a full meter, I think we're ready to take this ghost on. And approach from the back for a surprise encounter, because we need every advantage we can get here. Now, this will require a bit of luck in addition to some skillful play, because I need to never miss with my attacks, and I need the enemy's attacks to never go critical. And how far back the interrupts set the enemy in the weight gauge is actually a bit random. I really want it to be as long as possible. This was a pretty good start, actually. And the enemy chose to use its weaker attack, which was even better. Now, the smart thing to do when you activate these wishes, since you get more than you need to fill up Ignicolas' meter, is use him to heal your party members, and then grab the rest. So now Aurora's back to full health, and I got most of the meter back. And that was a pretty lousy interrupt, but it was fast enough I was able to get my next turn. And the only really sensible thing to do here, since I wouldn't get to act, is defend. 40% damage, the enemy used its more powerful attack, and I get my next turn really quickly. Now Ignicolas is out of meter again, so let's fill that back up, get my 3 health back. And keep the offense up. This enemy takes a ton of hits because it's designed to be fought with magic. But I don't care what the game actually wants me to do. I do what I want. And the enemy should be about ready to go down, which is real good because Aurora is about out of ability to stall this thing. Ignicolas is refilled just enough. I can heal a point of HP, and I'm going to use whatever he has left to just stall the enemy's turns. Hopefully I'll get to act one more time, and if I don't miss, I should win. That only did 4, so I guess the healing was unnecessary, but I had to go for it. And there we're in. By the skin of our teeth, we are at level 2, which actually is a huge upgrade for Aurora. Because not only do our stats get way better from level 1 to 2, but we can build on skill trees. Now you get 1 point every level, and you can build toward any of the 3 trees freely. Now, the general strategy, since it doesn't get progressively more expensive to build in the tree until you get to the very late stuff you unlock later, is to pick one tree and stick with it. Aurora's top tree is physical, her left tree is light magic, and her bottom tree is other light magic and counterattacks. Her basic light magic really is the best, and while at this point in the game she seems like a purely physical character and we won't be able to cast much, as the other characters enter the picture, light magic's going to be what she's going to be good at, so we really want to focus on that. Her other light magic tree isn't bad, but I think this one's a bit better, so it's what I'm going to be worrying about. And that enemy can ambush you if you let him attack you. Being ambushed is pretty much horrible, so I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen. And I want to back attack on this thing. And I need to be at level 3, so this is the last encounter I'm going to fight. And you're going to see just how powerful that level I gained is. Because now I one-shot those when it used to take me 2 hits. And now I have Starlight, which hits this enemy's magic weakness very hard. And I can interrupt. Sets the enemy really far back because I'm a lucky guy. And doing 3 damage a hit, this enemy's not going to stick around very long. I believe the next slash will do it in, so I'm going to be sure Ignicolas is full for my own convenience. There we go. See, that was more enemies, and it was so much easier. And another huge upgrade for Aurora, and another point I can put in the skill trees. Here I'm just getting MP on any reasonable road. This spell would not be tactically useful in the near future. So I'm just going to go this way to build towards stuff that will be useful later. There's actually really no gameplay difference at this point between 8 MP and 9, because my only spell costs 4. But I can use 2 starlights now, which is going to be very important toward killing the next boss efficiently. And the next boss hits pretty hard, so if you're not killing it efficiently, you're getting killed efficiently. Though I guess I can get my extra point of MP back from that. Not hugely helpful, but I'll take what I can get. And in here we have to solve a somewhat elaborate puzzle, but it's not too bad. Our goal is to get a box up to that switch. And yeah, Agnicolas, I wish I could fly too. Oh, that was a little greedy of me. Oh well. Now that I have this box over, I can just move this down to here. And I'm going to need the box to get up here. Then I pull this lever, and that's going to let that move. Though I need to take the box up with me, so I'll just slide this here, wait for it to come down, and then we'll be on our way. Door open. And we can't go up there yet, so I'm going to pretend I didn't see that. Yeah, there's a ton of treasure I'm going to be going back and getting from this area as soon as I get a little better navigation abilities. But I can open that chest right now and get myself a rough sapphire. Which, there's not really a lot I can do with this rough sapphire. I guess I can give myself water resistance, which does nothing for me. Now, I also have the option, I could mix it with my ruby to give myself a rough amethyst, which would give me 5% physical damage resistance. But overall, I think having an extra 4 HP at these incredibly low levels is worth more. And this is a puzzle to unlock the first boss. It's a pretty simple one. You just have to shine the various colored lights at the crystals in the background to break the appropriately colored stained glass. Whoops, I fell. That was really sloppy, I'm sorry. And when I do this, it's actually going to force me into the next boss fight. So I'm going to break segment here, and I will see you guys next time when I take on the first boss.